So this has really opened up.
Yes, it has. We had to take away. As we were starting to do the demolition, we found a lot of damage because it's such an old building over here from termites and in other areas. So we really just had to take it down just to the basic outside walls. So yeah, the space is a lot bigger. I think that when we reopen the design that we're working on, I think that people are going to kind of feel that it's so much more open now. We had a lot of wasted space over here, but it's going to be much more open. So I'm excited about that.
What? Oh yeah, or do you want us? You want us to go over here? Yeah, you can be, because you'll be in this story, so this makes sense. I forgot my. So this used to be the dressing rooms, right?
Yeah, this was. This area back here this right here was our office, and that was our dressing room. And here at the office was where all of the electrical, the internet, and all the computers things were based out of here, including the air handlers. So we could never really move the office. But now that we have to start from scratch with electric and everything, we're going to move the office over to that corner, make it much smaller. So this is going to be an open area for people. We plan on having, we only had one pool table before, but now we're going to have 2 pool tables. And this more of an open area is going to, I think, afford us some space for folks to dance and enjoy themselves during our performances on Fridays and Saturday nights.
When do you think you'll reopen?
We're shooting for September. We would ideally September would mark the 37th anniversary of Roosters, HC Roosters being open. So that's kind of what we've been shooting for. As you know, with this historic designation, our design plans have changed significantly. We had originally had a bunch of windows in front of us that we were going to open up the space, and obviously, because of the historical significance, we're not going to be able to do that anymore. The outside of the building really needs to maintain its integrity, its historical integrity. So we're thinking that we go before the Historic Preservation Board on February the 23rd. Then we have 2 readings before City Council, and I think by April the 5th, the City Commission will vote to decide whether we can be granted the historical significance. And then from that, I think it's going to be at a breakneck pace, because the Historical Designation Board, they have a seat on zoning. They want us to get open. They want us to succeed, and I think they're going to help push us forward and get us to open as quickly as possible.
What is the significance of getting the designation? Are we in the right spot?
No, you're fine.
What's the significance of getting the designation?
Well, the city approached us about it. Rick Rose, many years ago, had discussed it with us, and we really didn't understand what it meant. Roosters has been here since 1984, and prior to that, it was a gay bar in the 60s. So the legacy of this building goes back to the mid-60s, which is the same as the Stonewall Inn in New York, which is one of the most historically significant gay establishments in the country. So, the legacy of Roosters before me and the legacy of Roosters after me, I think, will be preserved by this historic designation. I think that's really important to our community. We're not just a business. We've never been just a business. We're a part of the community. In the mid-'80s, when we first opened up, and I was a bartender here the first night, that was just when the AIDS pandemic was being announced. Nobody was talking about it. Our government didn't talk about it. And we had to take care of ourselves. We had to take care of our own community, and that's what we did. And that's really where Roosters kind of took off, raising funds from other covered, raising funds for people whose families turned their back on them, who lost their jobs because of the stigma. Thank you. The stigma of AIDS in the early 80s. So for our community and the hundreds of thousands of people that have been helped by what's happened here at Roosters and prior to that at 823 Belvedere Road, this legacy is going to carry on for a long time, and that makes me very, very happy.
People that are younger than us don't know all the work that went into getting to be so free and open. Can you talk about what it was like in the 60s for people to have a place like a bar here, a gay bar here?
When this bar first opened as a gay establishment was in 1965. A gentleman by the name of Gene had a few clubs around town called the Turf Bars, and this was his 3rd incarnation. It was called the Turf West. And you can see our front doors over here on Belvedere Road. Belvedere Road, even back in the mid-'60s, was a very busy thoroughfare. And since most of the customers and the clientele that came here to Turf West were in the closet, their family, their friends, they had to be. They couldn't be outwardly gay because they would be ostracized by their community. So Gene actually put the side door in over there as a little way to keep people off of Belvedere Road, not so they could sneak in, but just so that they would be protected, yeah. And so that door stays there, has been there, and will continue after our remodeling.
I always wondered why we went in that door.
I remember in the 80s it was commonplace that when you would pull in here, if you parked someplace else and you walked to Roosters, you'd be harassed from people driving by, things would be thrown at you. So, and also I think that also points to the historic nature of the no windows. In a way it provided a certain sense of security perhaps
Absolutely.
for the LGBT community, so you didn't feel like you were being observed. So that makes total sense that the entrance would have been moved to the side.
Yeah.
So.
And that's another thing about which many of the folks out there probably don't understand, is that the security and comfort that establishments like Roosters provided to folks, because you were constantly harassed, you couldn't be out in public, you had no other way to meet other gay folks and like-minded individuals, and so this was really a safe haven. We like to say that Palm Beach County has Compass, which is our gay and lesbian community center, which opened up in
I want to say 1990.
mid-90s.
Yeah.
But before we had a community center, there were a lot of gay bars in Palm Beach County in the 1980s. None of them have survived, but even back then, even after its first foray when we first opened, we kind of became the community center for Palm Beach County, as Rick can attest to. The other bars had other things going on, but our support and our mission was always community-based. How do we give back? How do we make this a better place for our clientele, our customers?
Obviously you have a lot to do.
We do.
And the costs, you say, just keep going up and up. How much are you short? How much is it going to take?
Well, we've been so blessed. We've been so blessed by our community. My employees, myself, our core customer base love this place, but we never realized how much the rest of this community loves this establishment. I'm sure you've known we've got many donations from local folks, $50, $100, just saying, please reopen Roosters. I've never been there before. I know how much it means to this community, so we want to support you. We've raised to date over $70,000 to help us in our rebuilding efforts. Now, the cost, we really don't have a firm grasp on it yet, because every time we open another panel or take away something else is there. We're probably going to be anywhere from the $500,000 to $800,000. The Bank of Belglade, who works with the county on an SBA loan program, has been absolutely wonderful, and they're very pro Roosters and very pro us. So I don't think we're going to have any type of a funding shortfall, knock on wood. But I personally am willing to admit whatever it takes. It's really important that this legacy continue.
But it was nice to see the Rooster was untouched.
The genesis of the fire was back there in the kitchen area.
Right.
And that Rooster statue was always standing right next to that kitchen entrance, right by the front door. And it was great for us to see that it survived as well.
And what is the significance of this Rooster?
It's my insurance company's nightmare. Because one of the things that people always want to do is
Write it.
top up here and get out the Rooster. I prefer that they stand like this, but that's not necessarily what they do. This was actually bought by Bill's manager and Bill Capozzi, who started Rooster. His manager and his partner owned a small piece of it. By the name of Tom McKenzie. Tom McKenzie bought this for us 5 or 10 years ago to put on the roof, but it was too heavy to put on the roof. And it's become a real focal point. When you come to Roosters, you get a picture of it.
Cool. So tell me about Roosters.
Sure. So the significance of Roosters really is its place in our local cultural history and social history. I'm one of perhaps tens of thousands of guys who came out in this bar. There's probably no other bar, whether it has a heterosexual or a gay history, that can probably claim to have as much impact on the community as Roosters can. There might be a few others around, but
Well, explain that a little bit because, let's walk a little bit.
Sure.
Explain that a little bit because really this bar has been a philanthropic organization for LGBTQs, and now that it's burnt down, that community is responding in a similar manner.
Absolutely. And I really want to say in the first instance that Roosters was always a haven, a place where, guys and gals who were coming out, who didn't feel comfortable going anywhere else, they could come here and feel at home. So it really acted as the first community center for the LGBT community in the area. But what was your question? Your question was?
I just was pointing out that the community is now giving back to Roosters.
Oh, right. So, and Roosters has been the catalyst for many philanthropic nonprofit organizations, has raised money for countless organizations. Roosters supported the neighborhood of which I was the president of, Grandview Heights, by placing ads in the home tour directories and all the neighborhood directories. Roosters never said no whenever you went to ask them, will you support this event? They said, sure. Yeah. They've never said no. Roosters has never said no to the community. And I think that as a result of that impact, everything that Roosters has done for the community, for numerous nonprofits and organizations, everyone just was so shocked when they heard that there was this fire. The reaction was just pure emotion. I drove here immediately when I heard, as many other people did, because we just had to see this fire that people were talking about. So the community has reacted and said, no, we don't want this to just be part of history that's gone. We want to keep Roosters. And I really do believe from a historic standpoint, there's simply no other bar in the area. I can't even think of one that would be similar, regardless of its orientation. And I have researched it, and I believe that it's true that Roosters is the oldest continuously operating LGBT bar in the state. And in fact, it's one of the oldest in the Southeast United States. So I think that its place in history, though, has been its support for all the local organizations in the community, and it's very much a two-way street. So we want to help Roosters reopen again.
And I was going to ask you that as my next question. What would reopening this space mean to you, and are you looking forward to it?
I think the reopening of Roosters is going to be the biggest party that West Palm Beach has seen in decades. It really is. I think everyone will want to be here. The cool thing about Roosters is, in 2021, the younger generation, everyone is going to all bars. So there aren't just, but there are certain places that have earned a special place in history. And I think that preserving that atmosphere so, everyone can come to Roosters and enjoy the drag shows that you just don't have anywhere else, or the overall atmosphere that we enjoyed as, when I was 18, back in the 80s, you drink beer and wine when you were 18. So I was in this bar when I was 18 already, before it was Roosters. So it was another bar. I remember when Roosters opened, and